Leader Jeffries, thank you so much for joining me. I
Good
appreciate
to see
it.
you.
We got a lot to cover today because Karoline Leavitt has decided that she's going all out war against us. Of course, Speaker Mike Johnson's got a couple of problems. One, he's running away with his entire caucus, not just from actually negotiating, but which we're going to get into. But I want to talk about one of the biggest issues that he's running away from, which is, of course, the Epstein files, refusing to swear in Adelita Grijalva. Not only is it just embarrassing and cowardice, but we got, 700,000 constituents in Arizona not being represented. What needs to happen to make sure that we see Adelita Grijalva sworn in? When Mike Johnson is saying that this is because she wants to give a speech, that was his line, that we want to give her time to give a speech. It doesn't make any sense. What do we got to do?
Yeah, it's a complete and total disgrace that Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva hasn't been sworn in. She was elected more than 3 weeks ago. There's never been any dispute as it relates to why she should be certified. She's now been officially certified by the state of Arizona. And it's clear that Republicans are running away from the fact that the American people are demanding that the Epstein files be released. And Representative-elect Grijalva has made clear she'll be the 218th signature, which would trigger an up or down vote on releasing the Epstein files. And House Republicans, along with the Trump administration, want no part of that level of transparency. So it's a disgrace that this has gone on this long. There were two right-wing Republicans who were elected on April 1st of this year. There was a pro forma session the next day, and they were sworn in.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping
the next day. There's nothing stopping them. There's another pro forma session this week. She should be sworn in.
And not that I want to give her credit, but even Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, this is outlandish, this is ridiculous. Are you hearing from some Republicans talking about how they're probably going to vote? We know there's going to be 218 signatures on the discharge petition, but in terms of how many votes for the release of the Epstein files, how many Republicans in the House do you think might also jump in?
Yeah, it seems to me that there will be far more than 218 votes in support of the release of the Epstein files. But some of that, of course, is going to depend on the pressure that Donald Trump puts on compliant House Republicans, because basically when he says jump, pretty much they say how high. And they've been nothing more than a rubber stamp for his extreme agenda. They don't function like a separate and co-equal branch of government. They're a wholly owned subsidiary of the Trump administration racket. So I think that will be an open question. But there is no doubt, once Adelita Grijalva signs that petition,
get things
the
moving.
bill will pass.
And it seems like the intimidation from the administration has been coming down for a while. We saw the calls that this is going to be a hostile act if you vote for the Epstein files. Intimidation kind of has been their thing. The culture of fear is what they need. I talk about this all the time, is that if they get people afraid, if they get the ABCs, the law firms, the universities to capitulate, it makes them seem like they're strong. And that's what they're trying to do with No King's Day right now, is they want to intimidate people out of going out and protesting and using their First Amendment right. Karoline Leavitt had an interesting take on who's going to be out there. I want to show you this clip, and I got a couple of questions about Karoline, but let's see what she had to say.
Proved that the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world. And that's
so she's saying the protest is going to be just a bunch of people breaking the law and we're all criminals. I even remember the last protest Donald Trump was really excited about. It was actually 1,500 cop-beating criminals that he pardoned. But what is your response to Karoline Leavitt when you hear something that outlandish?
Well, Karoline Leavitt is a complete and total disgrace. She continues to embarrass herself. It gets worse every time she opens her mouth. She's lying about something. And of course she's lying about the patriotic Americans who are going to exercise their First Amendment rights to petition the government and express themselves and gather in a peaceful assembly. They are frightened to death about the fact that the American people know that Donald Trump and his administration, along with Republicans, have been a failure across the board. They promised to lower costs on day one. They didn't lower costs on day one. Costs are going up. What they did do on day one is pardon hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers, release them back into the community, many of whom have reoffended and committed violent crimes. And yet Karoline Leavitt, or whatever her name is, have no interest in addressing that reality, that Republicans are not the party of law and order. They're the party of lawlessness and disorder.
Yeah. Donald Trump has spent his entire administration carrying out illegal attacks to make us afraid, make us scared. Again, try to get people to pre-capitulate. A lot of that has been done from the folks around him. To me, Trump is, and I've said this a couple times, I think it's true, like he's a bit dementia-y addled, like he doesn't seem all that with it. Your meeting with him, right, when you were going in to negotiate, he didn't seem focused on talking about people who are going to see their premiums double and triple. He wanted to like give you his Trump 2028 hat, right? And you said something about J.D. Vance, right?
Yeah.
You were like, how does J.D. feel about this?
Yeah, well, the crazy thing was, halfway through the meeting, this random guy appears with these two red hats. And I have no idea what is on the hat, but I'm assuming it's a Make America Great Again hat. And he just randomly doesn't say a word and drops a hat, somewhat in front of where I'm seated, but there's a Diet Coke in between us that I also hadn't asked for, but that Donald Trump decided, to bring out for everybody. And then it obstructed the hat, but puts this, hat that turns out to say Trump 2028, and then he drops the hat in front of Schumer. Neither of us were paying that much attention to it, and Trump says nothing about it.
Really?
Nothing about, during the whole meeting, said nothing about it. I'm the first person to bring it up, because I looked, and I see like the cameraman circulating, apparently trying to catch a photo of the whole situation. And J.D. Vance is sitting right to my left. I say, don't you have a problem with this right here? And he kind of looked, paused, looked, and said, no comment.
Really?
And then the whole room fell out.
Really?
And that's and that was it.
And so that's Trump's focus, is like kind of making JD look like his bitch a little bit. Like, JD, I know he's into couches.
Yeah.
I also didn't know he was like kind of Trump's cuck. Like has got his whole political career is kind of given over to him. So like Trump
isn't. He kind of sunned JD.
He kind of so he did. And in that moment, like Trump doesn't know what's going on really with the hats. Not that focused on it. Was he there at all in the meeting? Like, is he kind of out of it? Like, what's he been like?
Yeah. It's very interesting because that was the first substantive interaction that I had with him, and
because he didn't know your name after.
Yeah, I think it seems like he was struggling to read it off of a paper, but he somehow had the ability to create, these random memes. The whole thing is an effort to try to intimidate and distract. But I think what Democrats have made clear, and we've shown this during this government shutdown fight, and we need to reopen the government, we need to enact a bipartisan spending agreement, but we're not going to bend and break as it relates to defending the health care of the American people. And I think that's caught Republicans by surprise. Because they're so used to, from the Trump perspective, basically Congress and congressional Republicans doing whatever the hell they want, right? As opposed to acting like a separate and co-equal branch of government, because there are no kings in the United States of America. We're going to continue to hold firm. In the meeting, it was interesting because Mike Johnson was sort of the most ideological of everybody in the meeting. And he, in fact, said, healthcare is an extraneous issue. I said, wait, hold on. I got to address that. Healthcare is not an extraneous issue. It's central to the well-being of the American people. And we'll debate that here inside this room, and I certainly will debate that outside in front of the public.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about, because Mike Johnson, I don't really think he tries to purport to be as much of a tough guy, the fake tough guys that Trump, Vance. But he was asked, funny enough, on Fox about a debate with you, and he had this to say.
Your reaction to that, as I also note that just came across our desk, Mr. Speaker, that you have agreed to a debate with Jeffries on C-SPAN at an unknown date and time. Is that true?
I'll debate Hakeem Jeffries anywhere, anytime, as soon as we get the government open. He's engaging in political theater and
political theater.
Right. So that's the thing. If you think that I'm engaging in political theater, then let's just have that conversation in front of the American people.
A substantive one.
A substantive conversation in front of the American people about the high cost of living, about you unleashing military troops in American cities, about the failures as it relates to the economy, about the Republican healthcare crisis, about the decision by Republicans to shut down the government, and the fact that Donald Trump has spent more time on the golf course during this shutdown than actually sitting down to negotiate a bipartisan spending agreement. Let's have that debate, and you can accuse me of political theater to my face, either on the floor of the House or, in a televised setting. It's interesting because He was interviewed by C-SPAN. By the way, that did not go well for him.
That was a tough hang.
Did not go well for him. He's interviewed on C-SPAN, and then he's asked about debating me on their new program. I guess it's called Ceasefire. And is it Ceasefire or Crossfire? One of the two.
It's one of those things, yeah.
Right? It's one of the two. And he says, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then, of course, I'm asked about it, and I said, yeah, let's do it. Anytime, any place. And now, of course, he runs to Fox News, no surprise, right? Runs to Fox News.
A little snowflakey. A little snowflakey.
Runs to Fox News. I haven't seen him do MSNBC yet. I just did Fox, right? So I'm not running away from talking to the country about the issues. He runs to Fox News, and he says, well, yeah, we can debate, but after the government is reopened. That's now his answer for everything.
Yeah.
He said the same thing about Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva.
Yeah.
Man up.
And they don't want to have the fight. And I know you're a busy guy, so I want to end on this. I think a lot of Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene has kind of admitted to it, that this isn't about a messaging war. This is about protecting people who are going to lose their health care, millions of Americans. Senator Sanders said again and again, 50 million Americans lose their health care, 50,000 people die every year unnecessarily. And I think us being so straightforward and blunt about that has had this breakthrough. Whereas Republicans are kind of doing what most people would say Democrats usually message on, which is kind of like a procedural, 60 votes, we got this, and da-da-da-da. What is your takeaway from the messaging war we've been waging right now that we need to continue going forward? Because a lot of people will bring up, a strongly worded letter here or there, like Democrats talking about a procedural thing here. But what is your takeaway about the way that we got to fight?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. We just have to talk straight to the American people. And as we prepared for the August district work period, we made clear, look, we need to communicate with everyday Americans a few things. One, you deserve better, because the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people by the Trump administration, completely and totally unacceptable. You deserve better. And that as Democrats, we're committed to working on three things: lowering the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, and cleaning up corruption. And around this government funding showdown, we've been clear there's this Republican healthcare crisis that needs to be addressed. And we want to cancel the cuts, lower the costs, and save healthcare. Very clear. Those are only 8 words. And we've been talking directly to the American people for weeks now. And Republicans have been all over the place, including trying to confuse the American people around procedure, lie about our motives. And then, of course, no less of a Republican authority than Marjorie Taylor Greene steps into the whole situation and says, no, this is real. What Democrats are talking about is real. There is a healthcare crisis. There is an affordability crisis, and we need to do something about it. So moving forward, I think the lesson as we emerge from this, we need to reopen the government and support our hardworking federal civil servants. But let's just talk straight from the heart to the American people. And on things that are unifying, both to House and Senate Democrats across the spectrum, from the most progressive Democrat to the most centrist Democrat and everywhere in between, we all care about the health care of the American people and lowering the high cost of living. And let's make sure we talk straight to the American people about the issues that matter to them. And that, of course, will include aggressively ending the national nightmare that Donald Trump is visiting on the American people and all of the things. But you capture the imagination of the American people when you talk to them about making their day-to-day life experience better.
And I'll let you get back to that fight. I'll let you get back to that
Appreciate
messaging
you, brother.
war, and I appreciate the time as always. Thank you, Leader Jeffries.
Good to see you.